Good morning to the FICCI leadership and all the members and associates of the FICCI, invited guests, media. Let me first commend the FICCI leadership for having picked up on a topic like Viksit Bharat and to have a national conclave on it. We all know that the Honorable Prime Minister had set a target for all of us, that by 2047, marking 100 years of India's independence, we should reach the destination of a developed India. Several decades have gone after our independence was attained in 1947, when we are trudging along and possibly reaching incrementally better days. But what actually has to happen is an India in which our generation or generation before, which saw a time of shortages, a time of opportunities lost, and a time when, in spite of talent revving to contribute to the country, they had to leave the country because the opportunities were not existing here. So, Honorable Prime Minister's clear indication is this goal is not attained for just India to claim a high ground, but it is our duty to provide the future coming generations a better India. A better India which gives opportunities for our youth to say, everything lies here, this is my motherland, and I feel proud to be here and contribute it further, rather than say, I'm not sure I'll have anything to do in this country, although I love it, I want to leave it because I need to take care of my family. So it's in a way our duty to provide the future generations a better country of which all of us can be proud, not just nationalistically proud, but also for the inclusive achievements that can be brought in if you look at a developed 2047. And that's the goal. And to have a conclave to talk about it, particularly among industry leaders, is a very important step forward. And I emphasize very important step forward. Because Indian industry, even during the British time, have always aligned with national interest and kept growing even against severe odds posed by the imperial colonial ruler. So if Indian industry has always kept that spirit up and against terrible odds kept moving along a national interest, I can't see how they will be left out in this game of building a developed India by 2047. So it should be natural to India's industry to align itself with India's developmental interests. And after all, industry will be the first contributor as much as the first beneficiary if India becomes developed. So if setting this goal alone is not enough, Prime Minister, setting the goal equally, has also said the different set for himself, the different stages with which he is going to take India towards 2047. Just as we, after 2014, lifted the Indian economy from the 10th place where it was to the 5th place where we are today, Honorable Prime Minister has already very clearly indicated the third term that he is coming in now after this Lok Sabha elections. He will make sure that India will be from the 5th lifted to the 3rd. And thereafter, of course, you're going to have to do a lot more things to take it forward. And in that, the next generation reforms will certainly be top on the agenda. And what do they constitute? I'm not going to list out everything. But my valuable colleague told you about what had happened between 14 and today, the various kind of steps taken, bringing in every sector to have better days in terms of due diligences, compliances, ease of living, so that no business is run under duress or no business is run under the pressure of having to comply with government's regulations and so on. So if that has been the way in which between 2014 and today, several area-specific and generic reforms, systemic reforms have been undertaken. So that trend will continue. So when I say next generation reforms, I'm not going to list out. You in the industry belonging to various sectors will understand what it means. It's not for any other reason, but for want of time, I'm not listing out. But even with that said, I will underline the fact that the reforms will touch on all the factors of production, be it your land, be it your labor, be it your capital. But I'll also add up, other than enterprise, I'll also add up, which may not fit into the traditional definition of what factors of production are, but I will add one more. 21st century probably comes up with one more factor of production, and that is the digital infrastructure. Today, today, no country can move at a pace in which they would want to achieve developmental goals for their own citizens, can do it or can do it effectively without digital infrastructure. So I would dare to put that as one of the other factor of production, in which India, under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi, has shown how investment, public investment, in creating that infrastructure at the bottom, digital infrastructure at the bottom and scaling it up, has given us the proverbial India stack, brick by brick, building it up. Some countries may have a few of the bricks, but may not have the others. Today, during the G20, we saw how countries have really put on table their appreciation of what India has done in terms of spreading the digital public infrastructure, public it is, and therefore want to replicate such an experience, each the way in which they want to do it for their own countries, and replicate that. Because they see the virtue of having infrastructure, digital infrastructure, which helps them to speed up, ramp up, scale up the developmental goals. And that is why, other than your traditional land, labor, and capital along with enterprise, I would dare to put this, because this is your modern day infrastructure, this is your modern day factor of production, without which you're not going to be able to scale up and bridge the gap between those who are still aspiring to develop and move forward. So with all this, reforms touching each one of these factors of production, I would still say I'll highlight some areas in which government will push a lot more. And I'm not listing items like EV, obviously EV, but we are looking at space, we are looking at artificial intelligence. India wants to touch on levels of innovation, investment, and also policy support for expanding in space sector, expanding in artificial intelligence. That is why, in spite of it being a vote on account, we have emphasized that India should become a global hub for artificial intelligence and related research. We'll set up centers of excellence for artificial intelligence. That's not going to be a simple, easy to achieve objective, but we have the wherewithal, and we therefore are confident we can do it. So space, artificial intelligence, warehousing. Now when I say warehousing, it's not just the agricultural warehousing at the village level. Yes, that also. But you can imagine the warehousing needs of this country, to the extent of whether it is your semiconductors or looking at precious metals and their warehousing as well. So space can be artificial intelligence, it can be warehousing, it can be. We are pushing with support, policy support, legislative support, investment support, and bringing people together to work together and see if there are joint ventures possible, investments possible, manpower which is so required with domain specialism possible. So that's one layer that I've just said, but that is not to exclude logistics. India's logistics potential is just not even touched yet, leave alone tapping it to 10%, 20%. We have immense scope in elaborating on logistics. I think a great leap forward technically has been made with the PM Gati Shakti, which gives you the wonderful layers of filters through which you can see where you need to have that investment made to ramp up on logistics. So logistics, agricultural value addition, agriculture better productivity. Agriculture, I don't want to use the mechanization word, but agriculture efficiencies. I'm not against mechanization, but mechanization per se is not the goal. Agriculture productivity is the goal, agriculture output is the goal, agriculture value addition is the goal. So logistics, agricultural value addition, efficiency and production. Therefore, if you go in that role, tourism, again an area in which we have not really exploited India's fullest capacity. Every parameter with which if you measure the tourist flow across the world, if you go for the beaches, if Thailand can provide something, India can provide it even better. We have the natural blessings, not just in Goa, across peninsular India. If skiing and snow-based activities, you have it all. If wild trekking, you have it all. High-altitude trekking, you have it all. Culture, temples or monuments, you have it all. Across the country again. Catering, food, cuisines, don't we have it all? And don't we have our own Indian population which is also revving to spend on family vacations? And we have probably as Indians specialized in one more thing, destination weddings. Are we fully exploiting all this? So whether it's logistics, agriculture and agricultural productivity and tourism, we have again immense potential and government is committed in terms of its policy. And the reason why Prime Minister is confident that the third term is going to ensure reaching the level of third largest economy, it's because of the push which he likes to give in these areas. Not just fiscal push, but legislative and other push as well. So industry today is sitting together in a national conclave, talking about what can be done today in India towards 2047. I've not spoken at all about the greening of India, renewable energy, better prospects for not just solar, not just electrical, but also looking at renewing our commitments to hydroelectric power. India's been a leader, but now we need to renew a lot more of them. Green hydrogen, green ammonia, big investments are happening in India. But with the investments, the collaterals which arise out of it, are we looking at those areas for investment? Are we looking at those areas for capacities? So industry today has so much to speak about. The path that the Prime Minister is laying for ourselves, and that path for which even after COVID, well after COVID, government is showing its commitment by ramping up expenditure, capital expenditure. I would appeal to the industry, standing on a FICCI platform. Indian industry can now surely move forward with a great speed. If globally investments are coming in, they're coming in because they see prospects here. You're in this country, you're also probably watching the situation, looking at the flow of investment capital. But I think it is time for Indian industry also to join in this game in a big way and look for, if necessary, for technology or any other reason, look for greater joint venture partners around the world for whom India is attractive, and I'm sure it is attractive for you in the first place. So there's just a lot more to say, because we are at a juncture in India's history where it is just all opportunities and it is for us to grab it. It's a government which functions on the principle of systems thinking. I'm sure many of you are management types. System as an organization, if you were to look at it, the entire organization should think about things. Government as an organization is thinking together, not in silos. And that is why we are able to overcome many of our legacy problems and deliver. And if government can do systems thinking, even as it goes for the stable, steady, incremental increase in bringing inclusivity, gas reaching homes, electricity reaching homes, water reaching homes, sanitation facility reaching homes, that is Kaizen, you know, incrementally moving, steadily moving. I don't know if I have any Japanese friends in the audience. If I've mispronounced Kaizen, please pardon me. It moves incrementally and stably, predictably to everybody. But it can't be Kaizen at the top. It has to be for India at least. Just ramping up speedily, because you don't have the luxury of time. You've lost nearly 60 years by moving in incremental pace. Incremental it has to be for the individual household. But the country's goal has to be achieved through speeding up on scale and getting to the destination in due time. Our green commitments are in place. I don't want any questions on, does this mean that India is going to lose out on the sustainability race? No, we shall not. Every commitment given in Paris was fulfilled. COP21 was fulfilled well before time. Every commitment given in Scotland shall also be fulfilled. And India is ramping up its capacities for renewable energy, making sure green cover is maintained. If any country has green cover increased, it's India. So, without taking more of your time, I appreciate once again Fiki's efforts to bring together industry, talk about things which matter for building India as a Viksit Bharat 2047. Industry's role, I'll again underline, is critical to this. You were with India in its freedom fighting moments. You built your industry and capacity despite the colonial pressures. It's time for us to have economic independence with this goal of Viksit Bharat, and I'm sure industry will play its role. Thank you very much.